Hello, everybody. Bernice here. I retired from the phone company. I was 49 years old. I had put in 26 years and I was ready to go. I was really ready to retire. There had been rumors that the phone company was merging with AT&T. Now, when I started in 1969, it was called Pacific Telephone. Then it was Pacific Bell. Then it was AT&T. Now there had been rumors going around saying that they were all going to merge with AT&T and they were going to offer early retirement for those that were eligible. Well, I was eligible and I was ready to retire. I was ready to go. So eventually, as time went on, they did offer and I took the offer after 26 years working for the phone company. Well, I started in 1969. I was 23 years old as a telephone operator. And, it was a great experience, and I really loved the job. I really did. You learn so many things, As when I was working there, I learned several different little languages, not fluently, but enough to get across to the customer and they could tell me what they wanted and I can kind of relate back of trying to get the call through. And being a telephone operator, I started out as the local operator. Then they added us on as long distance and local operator. So being local, we would call all over the city, all over the state, every state there is, local in every city, in the area, and long distance, we would call all over all over, everywhere, even out of the country. Japan, Australia, Korea, China, um, Africa, Mexico. We would call all over long distance international calls. Long distance from state to state, California to Texas, Alabama, Chicago, Mississippi, just everywhere. We were the operator back in those days. Now, today, you don't really need an operator. I don't know when the last time I called an operator. It's been decades. But back then, in those days, just about every phone call of what you needed was so much. You would dial zero for operator, and I would answer as the operator. Pacific Bell, thank you for calling. How may I help you? AT&T operator, how can I help you? It was just so many opportunities. So many opportunities. You could transfer from department to department. You could start off as being an operator and move on up to be a manager. And back in those days, 1969 is when I started, all you needed was a high school education. I had high school and I had about 2 years of junior JC college. I started as the operator, but that's where I stayed. I did try or even think about wanting to go to another department. But then after I got married and I had two children, the telephone operator department was the best department to stay in when you had children because the telephone on the traffic department is what they call it for the operators. Your hours could be flexible. You could change hours with someone else. You could change off days when you can trade off days, hours, very flexible. You can have your schedule, different schedules, but if you go to another department when you have children, their schedules are set like 9 to 5, 8 to 4, 10 to 6, or whatever, and that's it. But being in traffic in the operator department, your schedule can be flexible from week to week. You can trade off days, hours, whatever. So that was the best department for me to stay in for my 26 years because I had two children and I needed to be flexible because you never know when you have kids what you're going to have to take off. You need this day, this hours, this schedule, and so on and so forth. But the telephone company was so great back then. There was the credit union. You could be in the credit union. You could borrow money from the credit union. I got my car financed through the credit union. I got my first brand new car from the credit union. It was a 1973 Toyota Corolla. The credit union financed it for me. It was $2,100. 1973 Toyota Corolla, and it's financed through the credit union. And then there's the 401k plan. You would put in so much for the 401 and they would match a certain percentage of the 401k plan. It was just, I mean, you could transfer, anywhere in departments. You could transfer out of state for other departments and other phone companies in different states. There was so many opportunities, and it was just, and there was a wonderful health plan. It was just so many things, so many learning things, just different talking to different people in different countries and different states, and it was really good. But then, after so long, you're like, I'm ready to retire. I want to go. If they offer it to me, I'm going to take it. And that's what I did after 26 years. But after I took the retirement, I was 49 years old. I was for about 2 years. It was just a great vacation. I didn't have to go nowhere. I didn't have to go to work. And then after 2 years, it's got to be kind of boring. It's like, oh, I got to find me some job. I got to do something, because working for the phone company, it was very structured, very, very structured. Everything was structured, and I'm used to that, and I was used to that structure, you know. So when I did get a couple of little part-time jobs, typing and answering the phones or whatever, and it was just kind of laid back, slow, and you're looking up at the clock like, oh my gosh, what time is it to go home? Or, this business is slow, and I'm used to that fast pace, because when you worked for the phone company as being a telephone operator, everything was fast paced, fast paced. Back in those days, calls would come in one after another, one after another. And I was used to that fast pace. I don't like just sitting around, just talking, or just looking and waiting. And a lot of people like that because they have not been exposed to that fast paced structure. But I was exposed to that for 26 years, and that's the kind of work I like. I want to stay busy. But after so long, I thought about the phone company. I'm like, I would really like to go back. I would really like to go back. But they had changed the way they're hiring procedures and practices and so on and so forth. So it wasn't as easy to go back. And but I really enjoyed working for the telephone company. When I started, it was Pacific Telephone, then, like I said, Pacific Bell, then AT&T. But I enjoyed it, and I really got a great experience, and I learned a whole lot. I really did. There was a cafeteria. You can go down to the cafeteria, and then there were times when one of the other stations or telephone buildings or operators, they were short with operators, and they were really busy, and they needed operators to go over to their place to work. So you could volunteer to go over to the other office and work, and you would get paid to do that. And also, when we worked on Sundays, we would get time and a half on Sundays. And then when we worked on holidays, we'd get double time and a half on holidays. So there were a lot of times when there was holidays, and a lot of people didn't care about the holidays, and they were walking around trying to pick up somebody's holiday. I'll work your holiday. I'll work your holiday. I'll work, because if they work the holiday and they put 2 Sundays on with the holiday, you would have a nice, nice paycheck. So there was all kinds of things and opportunities, and just there working for the telephone company for 26 years. I thought I would share this story with you, and hope you enjoyed it. And I really I really missed working for the phone company after I left, but it was a great experience, and I learned a lot of work ethnics. Somebody correct me. You know what I mean. I really learned a lot. And it took me on to life for things after I left. So just wanted to share that with you guys. So, anyway, until I come back with another story and another experience, please subscribe and give me a comment. I would love to hear your opinions and what you think. So, and when I come back again, God bless us all. Bye bye.